before you can hand off a task, you need to think about the skill set that person you're going to hire needs, and you need to have structure to delegate those tasks. So I think there's a big step back as far as before you think about what you're going to delegate, but what could you actually bring someone on where you could coach them, support them, and get them up and running.
What if the key to growing your business isn't doing more, but finally being seen by the right people? Well, today's guest has built a coaching empire around this one simple truth, that visibility beats invisibility every single time. Welcome back to The Root of All Success. I am your host, the real Jason Duncan, and this is episode number 336. My guest is Kirsten Graham. She's the co-founder and co-CEO of Six Figure Business Coaching. Kirsten helps service-based business entrepreneurs stop being the best-kept secret in their industry and start showing up where it matters through strategic video marketing, podcast guesting, smart delegation. Through these things, she's helped countless business owners build authority, generate leads, quality leads, and reclaim their most valuable asset, which is, everybody know what that is? It's time. So Kirsten, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited for our conversation and that rapid fire at the end.
So you talk, Kirsten, about business owners being, quote, invisible. What does that actually look like in practice, and why do so many entrepreneurs stay stuck right there without even realizing it?
Well, I think for a lot of us, we didn't live out loud. It was before social media, so it's harder to think about putting ourselves out there. I like to joke, I still don't like to live out loud, but I do love having great conversations. So a lot of our clients start podcasts, or they end up guesting on podcasts because they love people and they're not afraid to have conversations. They just don't necessarily want to be in front of a camera, just talking to that little lens. And so getting out there and building relationships and showcasing your expertise is so important.
Yeah, so before you built Six Figure Business Coaching, what were you doing? And what moment made you realize, hey, I need to be doing this other thing?
Yeah, so my background's actually real estate. I started in the late 80s selling real estate. I went on to the mortgage side, owned a mortgage company and a title company, and I did a lot of loans for self-employed people. And I would see their business tax returns and their personal tax returns, and they would always ask to take me to lunch to pick my brain. So I really started mentoring business owners. Then 2008 hit. We survived. But around 2012, I started taking paid coaching clients, and I really transitioned to full-time business coaching in 2014. And from there, Jeannie was actually one of my mortgage clients, and she was actually one of my coaching clients when I first started out. We became great friends and ended up partnering because I started helping her outsource. And she had a marketing agency, so we started outsourcing for her agency. And from there, I started helping other clients outsource. And then it kind of led to this partnership where we realized with her marketing background and my business background and outsourcing that we could help more people in a very affordable way. And that's with virtual assistants overseas.
Well, you co-founded this company with Jeannie Wilson. So
Yes.
how did that partnership come together? Was it just that she was a client and you met, you liked each other? And then furthermore, not only how did it start, what makes it continue to work?
Right. So back in 2000, I always say it was end of 2006, early 2007, Jeannie had actually talked me into starting a YouTube channel for my mortgage company. So I started doing videos back then. And really, all of our loan officers did them. We had a great time. And I kind of contribute the fact that we stayed in business was the video content, because it built so much know, like, and trust. And we were still sending videos even after the market had crashed a bit. So I really understood the power of video marketing. And so we had great conversations around that. And with her marketing agency, things changed. It's harder for an agency to create all of your content. We need to show up in our content. And that just led to a conversation, which led to a partnership. And it's been since 2014 or 15.
So you guys are big advocates for video marketing. So for the entrepreneur who's absolutely terrified at being on camera, what's your advice for them to get started?
Yes. First of all, I'd say you're perfectly normal. I think if people love being in front of a camera, they're a bit narcissistic in most cases. I think, are you one of those people?
No, I wasn't at first. I think like all of us, I was nervous at first, but now this is so commonplace.
Yes.
It doesn't even, it's second nature. It's like looking into a mirror or looking out the window.
Right.
It's fine.
Yes. Yeah. Well, when people are in that at the beginning, when it is really nerve wracking and it is scary and overwhelming and it doesn't feel natural, I always like to tell my clients, think about that one person when you're talking to that lens. Think, I'm just having a conversation with my ideal client who needs me. And I always feel like people that really have a desire to serve, we often push ourselves outside of our comfort zone, outside of our boundaries, because we truly want to help people. And so for a lot of people, I think when they center it around helping others, they can look past the fact that they're uncomfortable. And like you said, eventually we become more comfortable with it. And yeah, I think also once you understand the power of it, when someone books a call with you and they're quoting things that you said, or in my case, things that Jeannie said, you realize how powerful video marketing is.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm going to answer kind of my own question because of something you said. What is one thing you can do to get past that nervousness? Well, one of the things I hate about people who do videos, I don't hate people, but what they do is they say, and forgive me if you do this. I am not saying this because I've ever seen you do this, but they take their phone or they're looking at the camera and they start their video. Hey guys, today we're talking about, no, you're not talking to a group of people. You're
Right.
talking to, because when's the last time you saw a group of people all sitting around a phone watching and scrolling
Right.
together? There might be one
Right.
video you all watch together because it's funny, but
Right.
it's one person. So
Yes.
one of my media coaches that I hired early on in the business, he said, never say plural. Like, it's not guys or people or hey everyone or welcome back to the channel, which I also hate. It's like you're talking to one person. And even in this video, in this podcast, you know, you podcast, I podcast, I know there are multiple listeners, but I try to say I'm not talking to one person. So I think your advice is great. I like that advice a lot.
Thank you. Yeah. And again, it's putting the desire to serve people is, I think, a lot of times what pushes us past fear. Because again, if you really, really want to help people and you know that your product or service can help them, then, it feels selfish not to. And I'll add one more thing. When we shifted from doing mostly talking head videos to podcasting, I love it because it's a conversation. So if you're really nervous about video, but you like having conversations, maybe instead of a talking head style channel, maybe a podcast style channel with interviews is better for you.
Yeah. You know, speaking of podcasts, you also help business owners land podcast guest spots. Yes. So what's the strategy behind using other people's platforms to grow your own authority?
Well, first of all, I find that most people that have podcasts are really warm, kind people, and you often build great relationships with them that last beyond the interview. So it can help you pick up affiliates, collaborations, JV partnerships. And then, of course, you pick up some of their audience. You have people that opt into your lead magnets, people who may never find you otherwise, but because you're on this person's podcast. Also, podcast guesting, you get a little bit of the authority from the person. Jason, you wouldn't have invited me on here if you didn't trust me, right? If you vetted me. And so I kind of have your collateral behind me. You're saying this is a good person. I'm having them on my show because I like and trust them. And so I think that carries a lot of weight as well.
A lot of entrepreneurs post content, but they're not seeing results. So what's the difference between content that just exists and the content that actually generates leads?
Yeah, I think definitely having strong call to actions. We need to realize that at the end, you need to inspire people to want to take that next step to connect with you. And then once they've done that, you really need to figure out how you're going to nurture them. So it's not just a matter of let me show up on your podcast, but let me see how I can show up on your podcast and deliver quality, how I can be a great guest, how can I offer value for the audience, and then how can I offer them something that would make them want to continue the conversation with me. I think that's the key is bringing in those leads by inspiring people to want to meet with you.
You teach not only, it's not about video and it's not about podcasts, but it's also about business owners leveraging VAs, virtual assistants. Yes. I have 4 virtual assistants who work for me. One of them is here in the studio in the background watching what's happening right now. And she's been with me a little over, I guess, 3 years. I truly believe in VAs. Well, what's the first task that most entrepreneurs should hand off, perhaps to a VA, and why do they often resist that?
So I don't know if it's specifically a task. I would have to say, before you can hand off a task, you need to think about the skill set that person you're going to hire needs, and you need to have structure to delegate those tasks. So I think there's a big step back as far as before you think about what you're going to delegate, but what could you actually bring someone on where you could coach them, support them, and get them up and running? Because you're not going to hire someone that's just going to jump into your business and magically know what to do. So I think that's the first thing. We really focus on really marketing and bookkeeping and things like that. So for a lot of people, if your bookkeeping's not been, you haven't done your bookkeeping, it's a hot mess, then you're really not running a business. You're kind of running, you have a hobby kind of, because you don't know if you're profitable. You don't know if you're not, you don't know where your money's going. You can't make sound financial decisions. Marketing a business, we feel like everyone needs to market in some way, shape, or form. So again, I feel like marketing can be a great first thing to hand off if you're not consistently marketing. Maybe you don't have time to edit videos, or you don't enjoy editing videos, or you don't like setting up landing pages and things like that. So look at what you hate doing. I think that's probably the best way to figure out what thing you want to hire for first is what do you hate doing, what gets put off, that kind of thing.
Well, I know that you and Jeannie work primarily with, I wouldn't say startups exclusively, but on the front end of the business growth trajectory. So I think because I was on her show or your show, she was the host yesterday. Under 250,000 in revenue. Am I remembering that correctly? Is that right?
We have a lot of clients that are there. We do have clients that are, 7-figure clients who have finally decided to start using podcasting or video marketing. It really depends, but mostly we're really focusing on that solopreneur who has not taken that step to hire. And Jeannie and I, we're not a marketing agency and we're not an outsourcing agency. We truly coach our clients to be successful in working with a virtual assistant. We hire and train those virtual assistants and provide our clients with the SOPs to manage all the tasks that their VAs do.
So I exclusively work with 7-figure and 8-figure entrepreneurs who are doing at least 3 million a year in revenue and more. And so when Jeannie and I were talking about this yesterday, we thought, okay, there's probably some collaboration, because occasionally I get people who make it through the screening processes that we have set up, and they're not qualified to work with us the way that we do our work. And I need somebody that I could recommend. So that's something that the three of us probably need to talk about. But beside that point, one of the things that you just said that I would echo, and I would try to put an exclamation point behind it, is that one of the things I've always said to startups is that the first two things you need to have are a bookkeeper and an assistant. That is what I believe 100% of the time, because if you don't have and you can't sleep in the same home with your bookkeeper. That has always been one of my contention. I don't care if your wife is a CPA or your husband is a bookkeeper. Like, it's somebody who is not emotionally connected to those numbers needs to be doing it. But a bookkeeper, and an assistant, and then I would also put a third on that category as a business coach. I think you need those three things, and I think they're critical. And it sounds to me like you guys are wrapping all those up into one. So I think you and I are on the same page, even though I'm not working with people who need to make those decisions because they're already much further down the road. But I think we're on the same page on that.
Yeah. And our goal is to get our clients to where they are ready to work with you, right? And you can't build a successful business if you don't have a solid foundation, and you can't build a successful business if you're still trying to do everything yourself. There's only so much we can do. I think, when it comes to bookkeeping, I think there can be a lot of shame and guilt around money and fear around money. And so our goal is you don't need to know how to keep your books, because there's professional bookkeepers that do that. All of our bookkeeping VAs are professional bookkeepers, but you do need the support in getting it done. And you want to be able to have a conversation with someone who will go over your profit loss statement and really teach you how to read it, how to understand your cash flow. So having a bookkeeping VA on your team is not just about getting the work done, but now it's having that person who's very knowledgeable, who can support you in understanding your numbers to make the best decisions. So yeah, I think that so often when you think about virtual assistants, you think, oh, they're just people that you throw tasks. You throw tasks at them and hope for the best. We don't see it that way. We see them as talented, smart, hardworking people halfway around the world that can really be true assets for your business and your personal growth. Most of us, maybe you've never hired someone, maybe you've never managed someone halfway around the world, but these are skills that you can learn, and it will empower you to take your business to the next level.
Well, time is a theme in your work too. So how do you advise someone or coach someone who says, I don't have time to delegate, it's just faster if I do it myself?
Hear it all the time. Well, but that's not the one I hate most, Jason. The one I hate most is I want to hire someone who'll tell me what to do. I'm like, good, go get a job.
That's a kind of a job. I think you missed the point here.
Yeah, close your business and get a job. Yeah. So, sometimes you do have to sacrifice in the short term to reap the benefits of the long term. So, for example, bookkeeping. Yes, you have to get your bookkeeper set up in your software, and you may have to provide some statements for them, and you may have to have some conversations with them about what your expenses are. So there is some time and energy in the beginning of that. But once it's up and running, now all of that time that you were supposed to do your bookkeeping or you were doing it is free. But you also have all the knowledge and the power because you have someone doing it. And I also think it's not just about the time itself, it's about the mental and emotional energy that we spend on things that we shouldn't be spending our time on. So if you've ever wanted to start a podcast, but you think, oh, I've got to learn how to edit videos, I've got to learn how to do all these other things before I can do that, you're really preventing yourself from moving into something you really want to do. And I feel like in some ways you're robbing someone halfway around the world who loves doing that job. The bookkeepers love bookkeeping. Our marketing virtual assistants, they love video editing, audio editing, they love graphic design. So when you can start to see that, yes, it is a little bit more work to bring someone on, you've got to get it up and running. But once you do, you're free to do what you do best. And you can show up, especially in podcast or guesting, you can show up as yourself because everything on the back end's been taken care of for you.
So we're going to get back to Kirsten in just a moment. But first, I want to encourage you, listener, to go to youtube.com/TheRealJasonDuncan and subscribe to my channel. On that channel in YouTube, you're going to get every podcast episode that I've ever recorded, plus exclusive videos on building and scaling an exitable business that you're not a slave to. I also teach on the Exit Without Exiting philosophy, which is the name of the best-selling book that I wrote. I also teach my XOS method, which is the Exeter operating system. And I talk about something called the 3 tiers of entrepreneurial evolution. That's youtube.com/TheRealJasonDuncan. And now for a word from today's sponsor of this show, and that is Dub. And I want to talk about Dub because Dub is a great platform for video marketing. And since we're talking about video marketing today, I want to make sure that you understand that. So if growing your business with personalized video outreach is important to you, and I believe that it probably is, or you wouldn't be watching or listening to this show, then Dub needs to be on your radar. Dub is spelled D-U-B-B. It's the ultimate video sales platform that I've personally been using since 2018. And it's not overstating it to say that I use this nearly every single day. It makes it easy to record and send videos through email that stand out in a crowded inbox, that have calls to action in it. There's carousels that play afterwards. There's all kinds of automations that you can set up. You can even use Dub's platform as a CRM to help you manage prospects and clients. I can't really speak highly enough about Dub. The guys over there, Ruben and Darius, I've known them since they started the company, and I've become a client because they make such good software for communicating through video. So go check them out, and you get a 50% off your first 2 months, and you get a free trial at therealjasonduncan.com/dub. That's therealjasonduncan.com/dub. So go check that out. All right. So, what do you think, Kirsten, what do you think is a common piece of marketing advice that you think actually holds entrepreneurs back?
Well, I think we're often talked into giving our power away, meaning hire this person or hire that person. And we don't spend enough time thinking about a strategy based on who we are and how we want to show up. So I think that's one of the things we have to really consider is when you're looking at your marketing, look at it as a whole, and then figure out how you want to show up in your marketing. And I think sometimes we're just sold things that don't make sense.
So you work with coaches, consultants, and service providers. So is there a type of business owner who struggles most with visibility, and why would you think they do?
So I think coaches are pretty solid about wanting to be out there, most of them. We do have a lot of clients in their 60s and 70s, believe it or not. They're a little bit less, they're more hesitant, but inevitably they're often fantastic on camera and they do a great job. So it's just, I think age is part of it. Like how old we are determines how willing we are to get out there. The other thing is, I think, real estate agents, we work with a lot of them as well. And I like to say, if you're in real estate and you don't have a YouTube channel yet, you're losing ground. So, and I think they're harder to get on board. And again, it may be an age thing, but I think that real estate, because people are moving so much more now, if you have a great YouTube channel, people can find you when they're moving to your city. And so it could be a huge asset. So for us, it's been real estate agents have been resistant to video.
So what's something that you used to believe that you don't believe anymore?
Oh, wow. Well, I think like a lot of business owners, you think, well, I should do this. Sometimes our self-worth can be tied up in I should do all of the things. And, I find that a lot of especially our female clients struggle with that. And I think the reality is you're not weak because you can't do something. You're actually stronger when you step into your leadership role and let people who have unique abilities to do certain things for you. I think that really shifts a lot for a lot of people. So not trying to be that solo hero and do everything yourself.
All right. So this show is called The Root of All Success. And as such, we need to talk a little bit about that concept. So, Kirsten, what would you say has been the one key that has unlocked success for you more than anything else?
Delegation, learning to delegate, being confident in delegating. And again, learning to delegate, again, like anything else, it's a skill set that we can learn. You're going to make mistakes, but not giving up. I don't even know if you know this, but we started outsourcing 17 years ago. So we were outsourcing before Zoom, before WhatsApp, before all the cool tools. And we got taken advantage of. We made some bad decisions. We were probably bad employers. There was a lot of things that, we didn't know that we didn't know. And so with actually staffing her marketing agency, Jeannie's marketing agency, with everyone overseas, we had to learn a lot of lessons, and we learned them the hard way. But I think not giving up and pushing through and realizing the power of outsourcing was so worth it for us.
How do you personally define the word success?
So success for me is time and money freedom. So being able to have that freedom to live my life. But most importantly, I feel like it's being in flow. So I love that state of flow when I'm getting to do what I love doing. I'm helping people, I'm enjoying, my social life. All of that to me is about success.
Based on that definition, do you consider yourself successful?
Some days more than others. Yeah, I think one of the things about being an entrepreneur is we always want to achieve more. And sometimes it's not necessarily about the money or the time or even accolades or anything else. I think for a lot of us, we're just driven to challenges. But I think that can also be a downfall for us. So making sure we're, not taking on more than we should, because it can get in the way of enjoying life. So yeah, overall, I think, yeah, there's areas I definitely want, big goals I have for next year, but we'll see.
All right. So what, if you put on your coach hat right now, what is your best piece of advice for entrepreneurs?
Yeah. It's always going to be about delegating and outsourcing or hiring. So whether you're hiring stateside or you're outsourcing, you have to find a way to trust people and to delegate to people so that you can spend more time doing the things that you need to do to take your business to the next level. Just think about AI. AI is fantastic, but as business owners, we have to invest time in learning AI and figuring out the best way to use it. And I need to have that time free to be able to do that. And that's where delegating comes into play. Or if you're thinking about rolling out a new offer or creating something new and different in the market, you need to have time to think about that and structure that and move forward with that. And you can't always do those things when you're busy doing all of the back end work in your business.
So let's talk about AI for a second. Since you brought it up, what do you think the impact of AI is going to be on the professions for people like you and me as coaches?
I'm an optimistic person, maybe a little bit too optimistic. I don't know. I think people are always going to crave connection. And so I think we're already starting to see people that may not necessarily want to just buy a course that they go through on their own. Because again, I think people are wanting more connection. We're also seeing social media stats go down. People are spending less time on social media right now. So again, I think if we can lean into the human connection, collaborations, partnerships, conversations, I think that'll go a long way to keep us relevant. But at the same time, we all need to learn how to use AI to be more efficient and use it ethically.
All right. As we close this conversation with you, Kirsten, I've got 3 rapid fire questions I'm going to ask. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. What is your favorite YouTube channel that is not yours?
Oh my gosh. I love so many. I'm racing around my head going, who do I pick? Who do I pick? How about if I say yours?
Oh, that's very kind of you.
You actually do have a great channel. I do watch your channel. So, I'm literally drawing a blank now because there's so many channels that I watch. So there's one channel that has nothing to do with business. It's called Cults to Consciousness. That's probably one of my favorite channels, to be honest.
Cults to Consciousness?
Yes.
That's interesting. I'm about to look that up. I always watch weird stuff on YouTube.
Me too.
I spent 4 hours watching a podcast last week while I was driving on a debate between what was this, Charlie Duke, who was the 10th person to walk on the moon, and then the denier, Bart, I forget his last name.
Oh,
And it was just a debate between a moon landing denier and someone who supposedly walked on the moon. Absolutely fascinating. My wife thinks I'm like crazy for listening to it, but I thought it was fascinating. All right,
yeah,
second question. The best business book that you've ever recommended to a client?
So I'm going to go old school. I love Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. I think so many of the books now are built on the foundation of what he built. And I remember because I probably read that book, when I was 17, 18 years old. And of course, it was very much written for men, written by a man for men in that era. They definitely were not talking to women. But I just remember the magical, the advanced, I guess it was probably that new age kind of undertone that it had way back then. Like looking back, you see things that you didn't really realize then. But I love that book. I actually read it every year for about 20 years.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite books of all time. I read it. I try to read it once a year. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's a part of every day of my affirmations and what I do. So I'm 100% with you. But have you ever heard of Florence Scovel Shinn?
No.
Okay. So she was a contemporary of his. They lived about the same time. I don't know that they ever knew one another or even interacted, but she wrote a lot of the similar concepts and ideas. She only wrote 4 books during her lifetime. A 5th book was released after she passed away. It was also very good, but she only wrote and released 4 books, and they all 4 fit into like a one volume that's a normal size book. So go check out Florence Scovel Shinn. If you like Napoleon Hill,
I will. Definitely.
She's a woman, of course, and she writes a lot more towards the woman's perspective. I think you'll enjoy it. All right. Final question. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice about building a business, what would that be?
Oh my gosh. I would probably go back to 2008 and tell myself to invest in a lot of, get out of the mortgage business and invest in all of these companies, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think looking back, we could have, I didn't have the imagination to be able to think what the internet would be or what it would do for our businesses, or even to conceptualize what social media would be or do for us. So I think that's always interesting. I've never, ever once thought I want to be younger until AI came out. I would kill to be 20 now because I'm so excited to see where this goes over the next 50 years. But yeah, I guess if I were to give myself that one piece of advice, it would just be constantly learn, be open to learning. There isn't a tool out there that's bad. A tool is just a tool. It's how humans choose to use them.
Well, Kirsten, thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for sharing your story and your perspective.
Thank you.
People can get in touch with you at sixfigurebusinesscoaching.com. That's spell out 6, S-I-X, sixfigurebusinesscoaching.com. And on all the socials, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, look up Six Figure Business Coaching. Is there anything else you want to tell the audience about today before we close out?
Well, sure. Yeah. So if any of you are not doing your bookkeeping and taking care of that, you can go to lessmathmoremoney.com. And we always offer a free master class to help you get your finances in order and to help you outsource your bookkeeping so you can really start to build a solid financial foundation for your business.
Lessmathmoremoney.com.
Yes.
That's good. I like that. That's a clever URL. Well, thank you, Kirsten, for being here. Congratulations.
Thank you
on all your success. And I wish you continued success, and perhaps we can collaborate a little as we move forward into the future. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for being here and tuning in and spending yet another day or an hour or if you put me on 2x speed, like the chipmunks, you've enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed this show as we talked to Kirsten about this. And really think about it. If you can master delegation, business is going to open up to you a whole nother level. As a matter of fact, in the XOS method that I've developed and teach in our mastermind, the very first stage of those 7 stages is delegation, basic delegation. You've got to figure this out. You need to figure that out even before you hire anybody. You've got to understand what it means to delegate. So I'm happy that Kirsten also believes that is a key to her success. So thank you again for listening. I hope that you enjoy all these episodes. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do that right now. It only takes one click of a button and boom, you're subscribed. And here we are talking every single week when I release the show. So make sure you tune in again next time when I talk with another very successful person about his or her journey to success. Until then, as always, I'm your host, the real Jason Duncan, and Jesus is King.
Attention business owners. Attention business owners. Feeling burnout from running your business? Uncertain if you're nearing burnout? Take our free 10-question business burnout test at businessburnouttest.com to discover where you stand. With just 10 quick questions, you'll learn how to immediately begin making changes to regain freedom and success. Cut your daily operations time in half. Improve your quality of life and prepare your business for your future exit without losing revenue or profit. Visit businessburnouttest.com now and take the test. Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Follow Jason on social media at The Real Jason Duncan. See you again next time here on The Root of All Success.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.